welcome to The View. And yes, I am back.
And we missed you.
And I missed you all, too. I got to tell you, there's something kind of marvelous about being on a show like this, because we are The View, and this is what we do. And sometimes we don't do it as elegantly as we could. And sometimes, well, yeah, you know.
So Whoopi Goldberg is back after her 2-week suspension from The View. This after the anti-Semitic rant she did on the show about how she thought the Holocaust wasn't about race, but rather just white people doing it to white people. Now, her return remarks aren't really making things any better. I mean, did you hear her say sometimes we don't do it as elegantly as we could? But really? I mean, this wasn't about elegance. Her comments were despicable and anti-Semitic. Joining me now from Reston, Virginia, Director MRC-TV, Eric Scheiner. Eric, it's great to see you. So, Eric, I was saying, her return back, her first day, you'd think she'd be a little more apologetic. But for her to just say that, oh, sometimes, you know, this is TV and everything's not going to come out, like, perfect, that's not a good excuse.
Well, I would agree with Whoopi that The View isn't very pretty. Yeah, it wasn't an apology. She barely acknowledged what she said before. And the idea that, you know, oh, The View's going to get back and we're going to continue these tough conversations is laughable. Come on. They all live in a liberal bubble. And if you don't agree with them, all they do is belittle you. There's a reason they haven't been able to find a replacement conservative host for a long time now, since Meghan McCain left. So, you know, this is ridiculous. It was hardly an apology, and she wasn't even really suspended for the full 2 weeks. So, you know, this is just them moving on as they always have. Forget about it. Time to move on.
Yeah. Now, over at CBS, they are plotting a midterm comeback for Biden and the Democrats, which is weird because they're supposed to be a news show. So let's take a look at that roll tape.
When it comes to the direction of the country, 33% of the country, only 33% think things are going well. So what can President Biden do? Still a lot of time, but time is drawing near before the midterms.
I asked some Democratic senators and House members about this. They want the president to be out there, and he is, to sell what they did on infrastructure, over $1 trillion in spending. And they feel like too few people are talking about the American Rescue Plan from back in March of 2021, $1.9 trillion.
Is that a problem generally with Democrats? I note that President Obama has even called Democrats out for not bragging about things that they're winning on.
Certainly that's a view inside of the Biden White House. Talking to some of my sources there, they want Democrats on Capitol Hill to champion what Biden has done, not just complain about what hasn't been accomplished.
So I don't think the talking heads are going to be able to rescue Biden because the American people are feeling the effects of his policies at home. So what they're hearing on TV doesn't actually relate to real world things that they're going through.
And I love this argument that the Democratic ideas are fine and the policies have been great. It's just, you know, they haven't been selling it enough. People haven't been talking about it enough on television. The Democrats really lack a powerful mouthpiece, other than, you know, their leader sits in the White House and every other cable show on the mainstream networks, you know, just plugs liberal ideals. I mean, that idea is ridiculous. So, yeah, that's going to be the strategy. We're going to talk about his successes more. And even when you look at the things that they deem successes, it's large government spending. You know, they talk about the infrastructure bill, which if you dissect, there's PLAs in there, which means the big it's through an executive order. Biden saying is only going to go to big unions, which, of course, decreases bidding. And when there's no competition, you generally pay higher prices. So it's hard to argue that, you know, that money is necessarily going to be spent the most effective way in creating the most jobs.
Yeah.
So there is no real one strong thing for them to promote. That's the real problem.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, Eric, we're going to leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.